Hello everybody, welcome to my channel. My name is Brian and today we're going to be looking at the KBDfans D65. So it's been a while since my last keyboard review video. As much as I would like to review every keyboard out there, unfortunately this hobby is very expensive and I have to be smart about how I spend my money. That being said, with the reviews that I do end up doing, I like to take a lot of time on them in order to put as much information in them as I can. I was actually working on the Clipper review video prior to this one, but I figured with the in-stock and group buys going out, people will be more interested in the D65 review first. If you're new to my channel, I make all kinds of mechanical keyboard content from reviews, builds, sound tests, and even podcasts. So if any of that interests you, feel free to hit the subscribe button. I have more exciting stuff planned coming up that you don't want to miss. The channel recently hit 300 subscribers, and our next goal is to hit 1,000. I also made a Discord server for the channel, and I also post a lot on Instagram, so interact with me on those platforms and come say hi. So starting off, the D65 is KBDfans' take on a gasket mount keyboard. But before I jump in further, I want to discuss what a gasket mount keyboard actually is. I've talked about them a lot on my channel, but I don't think I ever explained the idea behind it. Basically, a gasket mount keyboard means that the plate is fixed by pressure instead of screws. The theory is that this will give the board a slightly more cushion feel, since the plate is in direct contact with other metal components of the keyboard. It seems to be a huge trend in the keyboard world right now, as a lot of the high-end keyboard, and even budget keyboards like the Bauer Lite, KBD67 Lite, and the Portico are having a gasket mount design. However, this is not to be confused with the previous gasket mount videos that I have shown on my channel, as those use an O-ring to hold the plate and PCB inside the case through friction. All these other keyboards, including the D65, which we'll talk about today, uses a more standard gasket mount design by putting thin adhesive strips of gasket on the plate and squishing it inside the case. I got the gray case here with a hot swap PCB and an aluminum plate, which cost me $279. But prices increase if you get other options like polycarbonate cases or an E-white or E-yellow case. Additionally, the option of having hot swap and brass plate each make the price go up as well. With KBDfans having offered more of the budget DIY kits in the past, this is definitely more on the expensive side. I will try to take this into consideration as I review the keyboard today. Traditionally, KBDfans has always shipped out a lot of their keyboard parts in a standard cheap looking box, but this does not seem to be the case here. We got a KBDfans branded box this time with a cool magnetic opening, which is a nice touch. Inside the box, we have thick pieces of foam that help secure all the parts, including the case, plate, PCB, plate foam and case foam, and stabilizers. Since this is a more expensive kit, it is good to see KBDfans have more attention to detail in the unboxing experience as well. It isn't a big deal as long as your package is delivered securely, but this is something that I noticed and enjoyed. Looking at the design of the keyboard, you might notice its rounded corners. When I first saw the interest check on the D65, this was actually one of the things that I disliked. However, other rounded keyboard designs, including the Space 65, have really grown on me, and after actually having gotten the board in hand, I was okay with it, and it didn't really bother me as much. Another notable design aspect that they have added to the board is the brass weight on the back. There's a common misconception in the hobby that more weight equals more premium, but this isn't necessarily true, and I think the brass weight here is more for the appeal in the board's appearance. KBDfans has this brass weight on a lot of their recent boards, and I think it adds as a nice accent piece. I like the logo and the finish is fine too, but at the end of the day, it will be on the bottom of your board so it won't be visible while using. But hey, at least you know it's there. The USB-C cutout is nice and flush and does not show the USB port when plugged in. But since this keyboard doesn't use a daughter board, this becomes a mounting point for a gasket board like this one. Something that I wish was different on the design of the board is the irregularity of the top and bottom case lines. What I mean by this is in some areas of the case, it has a seamless look that doesn't show the bottom case, but in the other areas the bottom case is visible. I think it is the way they cut off randomly that bothers me more than anything, as if it was consistently seamless or consistently showing the bottom case, I wouldn't really notice it. I guess you could say this gives the board a bit of character, but it seemed like a strange choice to me. I would say the biggest design element of the board are the replaceable badges. With so many 65 keyboards this year having the badge in the top right corner, I found it really refreshing to see KBD fans have the badge location in place that I did not expect next to the arrow cluster and on the bottom right side. Unfortunately, I didn't pre-order any badges since I wanted to try out the board first to see if I liked it, but I do eventually want to get a few colors to try out. I think with the badge, the board has a lot of potential to really make it pop out if matched well with the keycaps. Onto the build, it is pretty easy and straightforward since we have a hot swap PCB. As always, start off by putting the rubber feet on the case. Next, I tested out the PCB in order to make sure it is working. I definitely recommend that you do this step whenever you use a soldered PCB, as oh boy, if you realize after you've done soldering that your PCB doesn't work, good luck to you. I'm going to skip showing the stabilizer modding because that's pretty straightforward and boring. There are tons of tutorials out there on how to mod your stacks. If you still want one from me, let me know down in the comments. One important thing about this KBD67 PCB is to put on these square grounding pads. You need to stick them onto the squares of the PCB to help prevent your PCB from shorting. On to the gaskets for the plate. Wait, KBD fans actually forgot to send me gaskets. Well, a week later, I got sent the gaskets. My customer service experience with KBD fans has always been good, which is why I enjoy buying their products. But since the biggest selling point of this keyboard was this gasket mount design, I thought it was ironic that they forgot to include the gaskets. But it's all good. The only important thing here is that you put the thinner gaskets on the sides of the plate and a short one on the right bottom where the arrow cluster would meet. After putting in the included PCB foam, they also gave you mounts to put between the plate and PCB to secure it since this is a hot swap PCB and you don't want it to fall out. However, after completing my build, the keyboard felt super stiff since I added these hardpoints throughout the keyboard, and I ended up taking them out. I figured with the case foam below the PCB, it wouldn't be that big of a deal if I didn't have the PCB screws. The hot swap sockets held onto the switches tightly, and I didn't have any problems of the switches falling out. The switches I ended up going with were the Holy Pandas. I'm a linear switch fan, but I felt the Holy Panda sounded better on the board than my Novelty Dry series, so I'll save these for a future build. The assembly is pretty simple, as you align the plate in between the bottom case and put on the top case. Then you turn it upside down and screw in at 8 points. They included a mini screwdriver, but it didn't fit with these screws for some reason, so I just used my own Torx screwdriver that I had. I also had to bring out my 9009 keycaps out again for this build. I really like the look of 9009 on grey cases, and I'm using Enjoy PBT 9009 for the base kit and GMK Korean beige add-on kit for the alphas. So what do I think about this keyboard? At around $300, it is definitely expensive and puts it on the higher end. With the mechanical keyboard hobby growing so fast and more expensive, we often get numb to prices, but $300 is a lot. That being said, most 65% keyboard group buys with similar features are from $300 to $400. The appeal of KBD fans is the quick turnaround period. They have spot sale, which is in quotes, in stock, and their group buy period tends to have shorter turnaround period than other typical group buys. If you're impatient like me and want to get stuff in stock, KBD fans products are a good option for you. If you don't mind waiting, there are so many other cool group buys that take place regularly that you can also explore. I think one really interesting option to keep an eye out for is the glorious GMMK Pro, which is a 75% gasket mount keyboard for $170. It looks really good on paper, but we'll have to see if it actually delivers. KBD Fans is also releasing other models of this gasket line, including the teased D60 and the recently released D84, which is their 75% board at $200, which competes with the Glorious board. But coming back to the D65, I think it's really good. I think it sounds pretty nice with the Holy Pandas, and the gasket mount design is interesting to type on. It definitely feels more cushioned, yet it feels crisp and clean to type on. It's a bit hard to describe without trying it for yourself. I do really want to get a polycarbonate plate and some color badges in the future to make the board even better, but for now, I think I'm pretty happy with the board. There's nothing that really stands out to me on why you shouldn't get this keyboard. I think KBD fans did a great job with this one. Well, that concludes my review on the D65. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider hitting the subscribe button. Your support means a lot. I wanted to thank you if you made it this far, and as always, Discord and Instagram links are in the description below. Until next time, take care, stay safe, and do whatever makes you happy.